Hello everyone, welcome to the Rock Band 1 review. So you might be wondering why instead of Guitar Hero 3 I went for Rock Band 1. I figured it would be more interesting to follow the harmonics path first, then jump into Guitar Hero 3 once after this review, just so I can get the back and forth of each series. The main reason for this split was the fact that harmonics had been acquired by MTV and Red Octane was acquired by Activision. And Activision, I'm guessing, wanting to make more money off their games, didn't want to work with MTV for the future installments, which is weird because I'm pretty sure they, if I remember correctly, they worked with Guitar Hero 1 and 2. Specifically, just didn't want to work with Activision anymore, I guess because they demanded higher money. It's basically the gist of the history of why this game was made instead of Harmonix' Guitar Hero 3, which there is actually a test video out there on the internet for. It was supposed to be like this rock apocalypse thing, which genuinely sounds interesting to me. I don't know. It seemed like it was a fun concept. So now with the presentation and gameplay. So guitar is basically the exact same as Guitar Hero. It's the 5 frets, strum button, all that, you know. And with this game, actually, it is, I think, the first full band-based game. Well, I don't know if Drum Mania existed before this, but so with the drums, it's 4 lanes, and then the kick drum. Then you have vocals, and that's all that is, because bass is also the 5 fret. And presentation, this sort of follows the Guitar Hero 1 and 2 philosophy of being like grittier and more like having a punk edge rather than sort of Guitar Hero 3 has more of a metal leaning aesthetic, though it's also cleaner than this game. So one of the other big differences between Guitar Hero and Rock Band is the fact in this game you can actually customize your characters rather than having pre-selected characters. The only way you get the pre-selected characters in this game, though, is through like quick play or the randomly selected bandmates you get in solo career mode. My biggest problem with the customization options in this game and kind of all the Rock Band games is that it feels fairly limited. I'd say Rock Band 3 probably has the better selection out of all 4 games, but I feel like all the games have fairly limited selections with what you can do, especially Rock Band 4. Rock Band 4 is the most limited, especially considering they made whole new character types and everything for that specifically. And with all that out of the way, let's get to the career mode and the set list. So with this game, this is the only Rock Band to actually have the Guitar Hero version of a career mode, basically where it's all tiered difficulties with different venues. And I think that's mainly because Harmonix didn't want to just jump straight into doing something different format-wise for this, which makes sense. I mean, because you have the main set list, and then you have the bonus set list, which if you play each song, you unlock different, like another song. You get what I'm saying. And then you have your DLC, which is the downloadable content set list. For the main set list, honestly, it's a pretty solid track selection, though. I don't know if this was because I was getting kind of burnt out on playing it, or if I just didn't like the song selection, because I think this set list has a lot of songs. Like, there's at least 2 songs in every tier that I genuinely enjoy outside of the game, but I felt kind of exhausted getting closer to the end of the game, and I will be completely clear about that. That will probably affect my rating of this. But with this one, they kind of went all out. This was the first Harmonix game to have majority studio recordings. There's still a few covers here and there. By Rock Band 2, I think, besides DLC, they had completely ditched doing wave group covers. Weirdly enough, Guitar Hero didn't with Guitar Hero World Tour. If I remember correctly, some of the songs in that game are actually still wave group covers instead of like the original versions. Though, another thing about it is that with the songs they got, the studio versions, they knocked it out of the park. A lot of big bands and a lot of hit songs. Hell, some of them ended up becoming TikTok trends later, and I got jump scared when I figured out what song was in the first tier. Yeah, other than feeling kind of burnt out at near the end, which I'm pretty sure kind of happens to anybody trying to, you know, finish a Guitar Hero or Rock Band game in a timely fashion, I think most of the songs are pretty fun, honestly. Obviously, earlier tiers I less so play often because I'm a high energy player. I typically play like metal stuff on guitar and drums, so I don't typically go to low difficulty songs. But this game has fairly rounded, like well-rounded selections. So like Highway Star by Deep Purple, which is probably one of the best songs in the set list, and I'm annoyed it's a disc set list song because whenever I started playing these, the exports were basically gone, so I never got a chance to play this outside of Rock Band 1. And Saying It So by Weezer, In Bloom by Nirvana. A lot of like great selections, especially for like the 2000s and the early to mid 90s. And also, like Guitar Hero, you have the different venues obviously getting bigger and bigger as you go through the set list. I think one of my favorite things, at least about the Harmonix games, is the bonus set list too, because you have some stuff that's typical, like you have the Boston local bands like Anarchy Club and Freeze Pop, stuff like where the people from Harmonix actually were in those bands at one point. But then you also have like crossover stuff, like Timmy and the Lords of the Underworld from South Park for some reason, which I think is just hilarious to have that in the bonus set list. Also, the song is pretty fun to play on guitar. Also, the one big difference with Rock Band versus Guitar Hero, at least at this time, is that instead of signing with Gibson again for this game, which I'm pretty sure Guitar Hero was specifically, like that franchise had to deal with Gibson, they went with Fender guitars, which I think was honestly a good decision considering Fender at the time had more brands under the belt, I think, than Gibson did. I think Gibson only really had Epiphone under their belt at the time, which even then Epiphone barely got mentioned in the Guitar Hero games outside of a few original models in like the first two games, and then just like Les Paul variants and Les Paul Explorer and SG variants in Guitar Hero 3, but that's about it. And for drums, I'm pretty sure they were unsponsored kits, but the cymbals were actually sponsored. I can't remember because I rarely play drums on this game. I could never get the sync to actually work well with playing drums, and plus I'm pretty sure there's some errors with actually playing like the MIDI Pro adapter on Rock Band 1. And then basses, it's also just the Fender selection. And I don't know if I mentioned this before. I'll probably cut this out if I did. I love the overall presentation. They went in the right direction with how they were presenting this, because I love how it's more so presented like a edited live video rather than just plain footage like how Guitar Hero 1 and 2 sort of were, and what Guitar Hero would eventually still do. Instead, Rock Band actually uses post-processing effects on its actual venues that are cued in time with the music, which I think is amazing, and makes it a lot more visually interesting to play, even if most players won't be focusing on the visuals. I do think it's a cool detail that there's like video effects and everything going on. They even had like a stage kit that had a fog machine and a light machine that you could hook up to your Xbox to go with it, so you could have like a full proper setup. So yeah, Rock Band 1 is a fairly decent start to a new franchise, but I do feel like if you wanted to play Rock Band but not Rock Band 3, just go for Rock Band 2 in my opinion, because Rock Band 1 has a good set list, but I feel like the improvements made in Rock Band 2 overall make it the better choice to go for. And plus, I lean towards Rock Band 2 in general, set list wise and everything, but to be honest, Rock Band 1 does hold its place if you are curious about the history of rhythm games and like especially the 2000s. So with that, Rock Band 1 in my opinion gets a 7 out of 10, which I think is perfect for it, because while it isn't horrible or mid, I do feel like a lot of its shortcomings like get solved in the later games. So isn't horrible, isn't amazing, just a perfectly good time. Even if I did say like I got bored around the end of playing the game, I feel like that's a normal thing to happen if you're grinding the game out. I can't let it detract from that, because it's got a good set list, it's fun to play, intuitive, and it's the first game ever to have a full band mode. With that, I hope to see you guys next time. Sorry for how long this video took, by the way. My laptop broke, so I couldn't do anything with the footage or even record any audio for this. So I basically just had the footage sitting for months, and I'm finally getting back to this. I have a few videos planned. I might put a teaser in for the next video at the end of this one. But here's hoping I can get back on a mostly regular schedule for this. So like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Please subscribe if you want. Notifications on, and I am out.
I want to be number one. How's that? Short and simple enough for you? It's gonna be a long, hard road. But who knows? Could kick ass. Could be dangerous. Could totally suck. What do you say, bro? Join me. Let's see how far we can take this. And for you there holding the controller right now, just press the A button. Let the bloodshed begin.